Okay, I like doing these. This is when we get to talk to our expert contributor about something they wrote in one of the issues of Westwood Living. This is the October issue, which I hope you're flipping through. This is Dave Fleischman. How are you, my friend?
Good, how are you?
Fantastic. And when we look at this month's issue, we see an article from you that talks specifically about when injury strikes, because that's obviously when his team takes over. But the focus of this one is when injury strikes a kid who's super excited about a season, they're a month in, and then boom, all of a sudden their hopes and dreams are crushed a little bit because they suffered a setback. So what do you say to families? What do you say to athletes under those circumstances?
This happens daily with us, unfortunately. You know, this is the time of year, like you said, where, you know, the grass is wet, things happen. It's tough, you know, there's a lot of disappointment. There's a lot of fear. Am I going to lose my spot? There's a lot of, am I going to make the team next year? You know, first thing we try to do is kind of get that player to stay involved. You know, like we try to, you know, I know you're going to practice, but let's get involved in the coaching. Let's get involved in helping your other teammates. But on the rehab, you know, on the rehab side, we got to really get them to buy in. Like, I need you to show up. I need you to put the work in. We start focusing on what's next, right? Because if it's they're in a soccer season, what are you getting ready for next? And let's focus on that. So let's put all that effort into your rehab so you're ready to do X, whatever that is. And usually if we can, you know, depending on if it's a post-op case, getting it through that really rough stage is always, you know, that's kind of where I excel, is in that early stage of rehab. But, you know, keeping them focused throughout the 4 to 6 weeks or 4 to 6 months, whatever that takes, is the challenge.
All right, well, let's change the scenario a little
Sure.
bit, because you and I probably both fell into this category where
Sure.
if you did suffer an injury and it was your senior year, say, and it's
Yes.
October 15th, and you know that there's a lot of important games coming up, you're going to raise your hand. You're going to be like, listen, I'm willing to play through a little bit of pain. So how do you handle that scenario?
That's a tough one. So it's a case-by-case basis for that. So I'll give you an example. I had a football player years ago playing in the Super Bowl. It was his last game of the year. He had a torn MCL. Him and the parents were like, I'm playing. I don't care what you say. The doctors, I'm playing. So I had to weigh whether, all right, is this going to be, is there any risk of him injuring it more? There really wasn't. This was his last game of his career. He was playing at Gillette Stadium.
Yeah. You can see where the emotions come in here.
So my job was to, okay, how can I keep you in the game but keep you safe? So I worked with the orthopedic surgeon. We got him into a brace. The kid had a killer game. I mean, we ended up losing to CM, but he had a killer game. But those are few and far between. Most of the time it's, you know, your season's over, and what do I do? And what do I focus on?
And sometimes that focuses on maybe another sport that the athlete plays, whether that's a winter sport or a spring sport. And have you found that being able to focus their attention on that? I mean, listen, there's going to be this mourning period almost where they're like bummed about the season they lost.
Sure.
But you got to get them focused on what's ahead.
Well, you know, unfortunately, this is a life lesson. Like, you know, like I am in this position, which I am in because I was a high school athlete who got hurt. And I had to go through rehab, and I had to, you know, deal with all that. And at some point in my perspective, I was like, oh, this is a kind of cool profession. Maybe I can do this. So, you know, and if you ask you line up 10 PTs, I guarantee you 8 out of 10 were an injured high school athlete. And this is how we got our orthopedic surgeon or any of these people. So, you know, sometimes something bad happens, but it turns into something good, you know, so.
Get that right. All right, so this is the man and his team with a lot of answers. So if you're in one of these situations, reach out, because they can give you counsel even beyond just the physical therapy that you're going to enjoy in one of the 2 locations, of course, down here in Foxborough, where we shoot every weekend, the location APR Physical Therapy on Washington Street in Westwood. That's Dave Fleischman. We thank you, as always, for your expertise.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You could read the article in the most recent edition of Westwood Living. We'll see you next week.